Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and a very good afternoon. Tan Sri Abdul Wahid Omar, Chairman of Bursa Malaysia, Dato Mohamed Umar Swift, Chief Executive Officer of Bursa Malaysia, Saudara Nik Hadini Mahmud, Head of Equities Macquarie Malaysia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to express my appreciation to Bursa Malaysia and Macquarie for organizing this event and inviting me to deliver this special address. If I may, I would like to first touch on the economic performance of Malaysia in terms of investments and international trade and some of the major policy responses that the government has undertaken. The COVID-19 pandemic has unleashed a tsunami of such force and magnitude that no economy has been spared. In dealing with this crisis, governments had to implement drastic measures, thereby incurring unintended economic consequences. Across the globe, severe disruption to industrial supply chains, plunging demand for goods and services, and sluggish pickup in businesses upon initial resumption resulted in dismal economic performance for the first half of the year. Not spared from the ravages of this global downturn, Malaysia's GDP contracted 17.1% in the second quarter from a marginal growth of 0.7% in the first quarter. The manufacturing sector recorded a negative growth of 18.3% in the second quarter. The total trade for the same quarter, valued at 392.96 billion ringgit, declined by 10.8% compared to the first quarter. Exports total 210.3 billion ringgit, a decrease of 11.9%, while imports amounted to 182.66 billion ringgit, contracting by 9.4%. Having said that, I should now add that it is not all doom and gloom. There is a silver lining to every dark cloud. And as restrictions began to be lifted along with the gradual resumption of economic activities, the numbers for economic performance in June 2020 started signaling that the country is on track for a gradual recovery. Thus, Malaysia's total trade in June 2020 actually expanded by 2.2% to 144.78 billion ringgit, while exports bounced back with an increase of 8.8% to 82.82 billion ringgit. The manufacturing sector recovered with double-digit growth, and exports of manufactured goods, which made up 87.5% of total exports, pick up by 13.7% year-on-year to 72.48 billion ringgit. Now, even more promising are the numbers that we have just obtained last Friday for July, signaling Malaysia's exports rising for the second straight month. We recorded an expansion of 3.1% from a year earlier on higher shipments of manufactured goods and agricultural commodities, particularly palm oil. All said, our trade surplus widened to a historical high of 25.15 billion ringgit last month, beating the previous record of 20.9 billion ringgit in June. In terms of investment, as at June 2020, MIDA is reviewing a total of 725 projects with a value of 36.7 billion ringgit and monitoring 141 high-profile leads with potential investments of 72.6 billion ringgit. MIDA has also facilitated 86 companies from various countries, including China, and closed deals on 32 projects with investments amounting to 17.5 billion ringgit to relocate or redeploy activities to Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic has called for at least 3 major policy responses. The first is the introduction of emergency economic relief measures that are targeted, timely, and proportionate to the phased reopening of economic sectors. Hence, to date, 295 billion worth of relief was provided by the government. The positive economic and trade numbers that I reported at the outset are clear testimony to the effectiveness of the decisive, bold, and comprehensive action taken swiftly by the government to deal with the unintended economic consequences. The next major policy response, being an extension of the first, is ensuring investors' confidence is restored by facilitating investments and promoting greater market access to sustain international trade. The short-term economic recovery plan, or PENJANA, that was announced in June 2020 supports the promotion of domestic and foreign investments in positioning Malaysia as an attractive horizon for businesses. Efforts to allow investments to be realized upon approval need to be coordinated and accelerated. With that in mind, MIDA established the Project Acceleration and Coordination Unit, or PACU, to facilitate investors in getting regulatory approvals and coordinate resolution of issues within the fastest time possible. This is part and parcel of the overall government policy in providing a value proposition to investors by way of easing regulatory approvals and to enhance the ease of doing business. Ladies and gentlemen, at the recently concluded APEC Ministers Responsible for Trade meeting, Malaysia, together with other APEC economies, have committed to ensuring uninterrupted flow of essential goods across borders. In this regard, FTA represent an important platform to gain better market access and advance Malaysia's trade and industrial development agenda. Expansion of growth in trade with Malaysia's FTA partners that covers almost 63% of Malaysia's total trade has therefore helped to cushion the impact of the ongoing crisis. At the 52nd ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting, ASEAN plus 5, namely China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand, made significant progress towards the November 2020 signing of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or RCEP. We cannot overstress the significant role that the RCEP agreement could play in post-COVID-19 recovery efforts, particularly in contributing to deepening economic integration and enhancing prosperity in the region. The third major policy response is to encourage our domestic industries to enhance their capacities and capabilities towards building better resilience and ensuring sustainability. This entails a trajectory towards digital transformation as well as holistic policies in the face of the fourth industrial revolution. In Malaysia, companies, especially the SMEs, were cautious in taking the first step towards Industry 4.0 adoption. Nonetheless, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has created a sea change in how companies think about this. As a matter of fact, from our engagement with SMEs and other stakeholders, one general concern stands out: the issue of scaling and how to modernize production processes, upgrade equipment, and advance in higher technology towards that end. In short, companies are now more receptive to adopt Industry 4.0 technologies to become more agile to mitigate production and distribution shortfalls. MITI is spearheading this agenda in bringing digital transformation of manufacturing and related services to be more resilient and competitive. This is a crucial point given that SMEs account for nearly 97.1% of our manufacturing landscape. The government is highly committed to developing a comprehensive industrial ecosystem to embrace new opportunities via the adoption of more smart manufacturing processes that will enhance production flexibility and efficiency and radically transform value chains and business models. In this regard, the Cabinet has approved the establishment of the National 4IR and Digital Council to be chaired by the Prime Minister. The Council will provide policy leadership with regards to the 4IR and digitalization policy direction and steer socio-economic development of the country by leveraging technological advancement. Indeed, with the formation of the Council, the way forward to accelerate the growth of the economy will go in tandem with the adoption of artificial intelligence, robotics, drone, and sensor technology, whilst synergizing the capabilities of 5G infrastructure. The National Digital Infrastructure Plan, namely Jalinan Digital Negara or Jendela, unveiled on Saturday, is therefore most timely and central towards our transition into 5G wireless technology and will pave the way to strengthen digital connectivity and close the digital divide in Malaysia. It is therefore clear that the government has identified Industry 4.0 as the key growth engine that will play a big role in ensuring sustainable economic growth. In this regard, the Industry Forward policy, launched in 2018, envisions that by 2025, Malaysia will be the strategic partner for smart manufacturing and related services in Asia Pacific. One of the flagship programs under this policy is the Industry Forward Readiness Assessment Program, or RA, which provides assessment for businesses and factories on how they can move into Industry 4.0 through targeted intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, talent development will also be intensified as we gear up to produce our own talent pool for 4IR transformation. The development of this talent from the beginning of ideas to the marketing process will be enhanced through the formation of sandboxes in driving the development of R&D, innovation, and high-tech entrepreneurship. In this regard, at the recent launching of the National Technology and Innovation Sandbox, the Prime Minister said that Malaysia stands ready to crystallize the output of high technology and high incomes mandate by increasing the commercialization rate of local products, technologies, as well as R&D. Investors, therefore, would be able to work in a safe and controlled environment to jointly develop high-tech products and services and commercialize these investments. These strategic moves toward digitalization and technological adaptation will see us trailblazing many more programs to increase the supply of local talents with high skills, thus reducing our dependency on foreign workers. Ladies and gentlemen, being a highly open economy and a global trading nation, Malaysia will continue to remain vigilant of the geopolitical and geoeconomic dynamics of the region amidst the US-China trade war, South China Sea conflicts, and COVID-19. Issues of safeguarding national security and strategic national interests, as well as advancing economic growth, are no longer confined to the physical world. As we know it, the fourth industrial revolution is characterized by a range of new technologies that are fusing the physical, digital, and biological worlds. In this regard, the advancing of Malaysia's 5G, coupled with the implementation of Industry 4.0, is indeed the way forward to push the technology adoption and digital transformation so crucial to propel our economic trajectory. This has to be a concerted effort by all relevant stakeholders, including the GLCs, SMEs, MNCs, and financial institutions working hand in glove with the government agencies. Ladies and gentlemen, Akira Kurosawa made the world classic movie Rashomon, which was adapted from the short story In a Grove written by Akutagawa. Here's an inspiring quote that I would like to share with you. Individually, we are one drop. Together, we are an ocean. Let us therefore move forward together to make that transformation and drive our economy to greater heights. Thank you.